finding slope given 2 points, you will need the tool of the slope formula. The slope formula states m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Looking at our two ordered pairs, the first combination can be our sub 1 x and y. The second ordered pair can be our sub 2. The sub 1 and sub 2 just help us denote between the first ordered pair and the second ordered pair. If I'm going to go exactly how the formula has it stated, I want to start with y sub 2. The y sub 2 in this problem will be the number 6. I will take 6 and subtract 1. I will then take 8, my x sub 2, and subtract 4, my x sub 1. In doing the calculation, 6 minus 1 is going to equal 5, and 8 minus 4 equals 4. My slope for these two ordered pairs would be 5 over 4. If someone chose to do this the opposite way, and they chose to use the y sub 1 first and subtract 6, then they would use the 4 first because it goes with the 1, and they would subtract 8. 1 minus 6 is negative 5. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. A negative 5 over a negative 4 simplifies to a positive 5 over 4, giving me the same slope. So in a problem, if you're worried about if you labeling the x and y's incorrectly and choosing the wrong one first, there is no true first or second one. It does not matter how you work the problem, you will simplify to the same exact answer. If you are going to find slope given 2 points, you will want to use the slope formula. Make sure you have that in your notes. If we are going to find slope given a graph, we are looking for our slope as a rise over run. And in the formula that we just used, rise was given as y sub 2 minus y sub 1. So for the y's, looking at the change in the y's will help us find our rise. So on this graph, if I am going to look for the rise of my first graph, I am going to go up or down. And from the first point in my graph, I am going to go up, so I'm at the same level as the second ordered pair or second point. I have just risen 1 space, so my rise for this first graph is 1. I then need to run, and in this problem I am going to run 1, 2, 3, 4 points or spaces on the graph in the positive direction. So my rise is 1, my run is 4, and my slope of this graph is 1/4. Let's not forget, when looking at a graph, we also know that this is a positive slope because it is starting low and going up, and therefore it is positive. Now I made the next graph absolutely opposite of that, so I want you to see that by looking at the graph, you should automatically tell that this slope is going to be negative once I solve it. In looking at its rise, if I always like to start with the point closer to the left, on this one, in order for me to get to the same level as the second point, I need to go down. So the rise is actually going in a downward motion. When I go down, I have gone down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. Going down on a graph is in a negative direction. To calculate the run of this graph, I need to go over, and I'm moving over to the right, and that's still positive on a number line, and I have moved over 2 spaces. So the slope of this second graph is -5 over 2. My rise was -5, my run was +2. Last but not least, we are also asked to find slope given a table. Again, my slope we use the terms rise over run. A reminder, a rise is the change in our y values, and the run is the change in our x values. So I always start by looking at the change in my y's. On this table that is horizontal, the y's are on the bottom, and I notice that my y values on this table are going down by 4 every single time. My run is given by the change in my x values, and on this horizontal table my run is going to be on the x values on the top, and they are increasing by 1 each time. The slope for this table is a rise of -4 over a run of +1. Therefore, my slope equals -4 over 1, or can simplify to -4. Each one of these fractions are the same, making sure that they're all equivalent and a constant rate of change. On the next table, I'm going to again look for my rise values on my y side. I notice that from 9 to 12 this has increased 3 spaces. From 12 to 18 I have increased 6 spaces. From 18 to 21 I've increased 3 spaces again. On the run side of this vertical table, my x's are increasing by 2, then they are increasing by 4, and then they are increasing by 2 again. Well, this doesn't look necessarily like a constant rate of change just looking at the values at first, but if I take each of these values and make the rise over run coordinate between the ordered pairs, I would have a 3 over 2, which equals a 6 over 4, which equals a 3 over 2 again. Now, I know that 6 over 4 is not in a simplified state like 3 over 2. And if I did simplify by dividing 6 and 4 by 2, I could simplify this to 3 over 2 as well. So my slope for this second table in simplified form is 3 over 2. Make sure that when you're looking for slope that you simplify the fraction into lowest terms.